This is going to be a video on how to do timing on a Honda D series engine. I'm also going to be covering the difference between the D15B7 and then the Z6 and other D series engines. So if you look at my timing, these two lines here are supposed to be straight with the timing cover, and if you look down here, it's kind of hard to see, but right there, that's the timing mark. It's lined up right with the lower timing mark, and this is actually off just a tad. So the first thing you're going to want to do is grab for me it's a 17 millimeter, and put it on your crankshaft bolt right there, and then you're going to turn your engine until your timing mark. And if you don't know, there is, let me see if I can zoom in a bit here, there's those three on the left. That's the mark you're going to use for timing your distributor, and the mark on the right, that's the top dead center. So you're going to use your ratchet and turn left like you're loosening it until this single line is lined up with this. And if your engine is a D15B7, you want the two vertical lines, or horizontal lines I mean, you want these to be as flat as possible. And then if you have a Z6, there's actually another line, this one down here. You want this to be as close to this as you can. So one good way to do this is to just go underneath the car, jack it up and put it on jack stands, and then just put the socket on there with an extension, and you'll be able to turn it this way. Or if your Honda is modified and it doesn't have the air conditioner, you can just simply go down like this and then slide your ratchet onto the bolt this way. So now we have to get the tensioner loose. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab a 14 millimeter, and there's a little hole on the side of the lower timing cover, right there in the center of the screen. You're gonna want to slide this into that hole so you can loosen your tensioner. Let's see if I can get this on here. Yeah, like this. And then you just want to loosen it a little bit. Don't take the bolt all the way out, because this is the bolt that actually holds the tensioner on. So there we go, like that. Just give her a few turns, nothing too crazy. And then your belt will come loose and you'll be able to slide it off. So what I'm going to do is, with this, I'm going to try and turn my camshaft here so it's level, and there's going to be a bunch of slack here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ratchet down there to turn the crankshaft until the belt skips onto the proper teeth. So I'm going to try and record this the best I can. So I have my ratchet turned so that I'm turning the crankshaft clockwise, and if I pull up on the belt and then turn it, I just jumped a tooth there. So now if I grab this and then turn it so that I'm at dead center, I switched it back so I'm turning the crankshaft counterclockwise again. If we do that, there's no slack on the belt, and if you look, my timing is perfect. So I have the D15B7, so I want these two lines to be perfectly level with the timing cover or the valve cover. But if you have a D16Z6 or I think it's a JDM D15B, the VTEC engines, you want this timing mark to be dead on with this mark on the cover. So in that case, you just turn this until your timing mark is dead on with that, and then your timing mark is dead on at the bottom as well. Now that I have the timing set, all I want to do before I actually tighten the belt is just take a 12 millimeter in my case, and then just turn my camshaft clockwise just a little bit, like that. And then I want to take the 17 down here and then put this back to top dead center. Let's see if I can get this. So if we look there, so now the crankshaft is at top dead center again. Let me zoom in here. You see the line lines up. Well, it's just a tiny bit off. Let me fix that. Let me find my ratchet. turn that just a tiny bit. Perfect. And then if we look up here, our timing marks are still lined up. The reason I did that is because it tightens up this side of the belt. So now we can take our 14mm, put it back on that bolt right, put that 14mm right back on the bolt right there, and then snug it up, and then the belt should be tight on this side as well. Use my 14 and just tighten that bolt, and just to test, you should be able to flex your belt a bit, but it shouldn't go more than 90 degrees. Let me move the screwdriver. I was using that to hold my camera earlier. So now what you're gonna do is take your ratchet and then you're gonna rotate it twice. So you want the crankshaft to rotate twice, and then you're gonna check your timing again to make sure it's correct. So if I grab this, and I'll try and get the camera so you can see that. So I just went past the top dead center mark once, so I'm going to continue until it goes over again, and I'm going to stop it at top dead center. Alright, perfect. So then I just want to double check my cam gear and make sure those lines still line up. And as you can see, they are still lined up with the timing cover. So now I'm going to work on the ignition timing. So I have just a not really super expensive Bosch timing light. So with this, you put one lead on the negative on the negative, positive on the positive, and then you put your little clamp here on cylinder 1, which is this one right here. And then I had my battery disconnected while I was doing all that just for safety. So let's put that back on there. And there is one connector that we need to jump. Don't mind all of these, I have a bunch of trees in my driveway. So it's this one here. It'll be underneath your kick panel somewhere. It's the one with 2 wires like this. All you want to do is take a piece of wire and put it in both of them so it jumps it and short circuits that connector. And then you want to make sure your distributor bolts are just slightly loose so you can move it back and forth a bit, and then make sure you have, you know, all your ratchets off, everything put away, your belt tightened up. And in my case, I'm gonna drop the car back down. Now getting ready to start the car up, you should be able to turn it on. The engine light will come on and it'll stay on. And then start your car up. The engine light will stay on, but that's just because it's in the service mode. Also, if you have any other engine, your engine light will flash to the certain code. So then with our timing light, don't mind that noise. It's the input shaft on this transmission. I have to replace it. If we use our timing light and it's connected properly, it'll actually flash like that. It's really hard to capture this on camera, but if you look down here, you want to see those 3 lines, and you want them to match up with that little stud here on the timing cover. So while you're looking at the light, just try and focus on the lines, and you want to move your distributor back and forth just like this until those 3 marks line up perfectly with that. So I'm going to try that here. So if I look, it's hard to see on camera, but it's just a bit behind, it's just a bit behind that mark. So I'm going to try slanting a bit. Try that again. So I'm just turning the distributor here. That was a bit too much, so I'm going to back it off. And it's almost there. I just need to do one little tiny adjustment. So let's try back just a tiny bit. That was a little bit too far. Try forward just a tiny bit. That's dead on. So then, once you have your 3 marks lining up with that again, all you want to do now is just tighten these up the best you can with your fingers, and then shut the car off. So now that the car is off, all you have to do is grab your ratchet and extension and just tighten these bad boys back up. That one, and this one. Now that everything's good to go, I disconnected my timing light. I'm just gonna make sure that the belt's still nice and tight. If you want, you can, put your ratchet back on there, double check the mechanical timing, which I've already done. And then all you have to do is take out your service port jumper, tuck this back up underneath the dash, and then your car is good to go.